Yeah, it still has that because. All right, so we're gonna be starting a new game.
Really keeps going.
App version 1.15.2.
Ashes of Ariandel and the Ring City.
Yeah, we got both the DLCs, baby. We're doing it. We're doing it for real. We're not fucking around.
We got Angela's Ashes and the Ring City.
God damn it. All right.
Yes, indeed. It is called Lothric, where the transitory lands of the Lords of Cinder converge. In venturing north, the pilgrims discover the truth of the old words. The fire fades, and the lords go without thrones. When the link of fire is threatened, the bell tolls, unearthing the old lords of Cinder from their graves. Aldrich, saint of the deep, Farron's undead legion, the Abyss Watchers. And the reclusive lord of the profaned capital. Yon the Giant. Only in truth, the lords will abandon their thrones. And the unkindled will rise. Nameless, accursed undead, unfit even to be cinder. And so it is that ash seeketh embers.
So there we are, Dark Souls 3. We've started up. And hi everyone, and welcome to the best of all possible souls, a Dark Souls 3 LP with me, Dia, and we're once again joined by our fabulous co-host, Trevor Strunk. Trevor, say hi.
Hi everyone. Hi Dia. Hi Entry Incomplete.
Entry incomplete.
Like I don't know who it'll be.
We don't know who this will be, Trevor. This could be anyone. This could be anyone named Derby. Of course, we are once again continuing the adventures of Derby. And yeah. So that intro, Trevor, do you wanna talk about your feelings of it while I start setting this up here?
Well, I really liked the intro. I think one of the things I really liked about the intro was that it had like a it was kind of a mix between the multiple like lords that we kind of met at the end of Dark Souls 2, and this kind of like central linker of the flame with the undead, because obviously like this game is much more an homage to Dark Souls 1 than it is Dark Souls 2, but you can't deny that DNA in there. Like, that DNA is right there with all the people, refusing their thrones and stuff. I liked also that everyone, including Yorn the Giant, had their own coffin. I like the idea of someone making a coffin for Yorn the Giant.
Yorm the Giant, yeah. No, it's
very exciting.
It's really good.
Imagine someone making that coffin.
Yeah, the coffin for Yorm the Giant is kind of a great concept. But we have seen quite a lot of colossal structure building in Souls games, so...
Very true, very true. There was that giant
we did have the Tomb of the Giants previously.
Yeah, we also have the Tomb of the... Yeah, of course. I appreciate that... we get the kind of... it's obvious there's a sort of story arc that they're going for here, insofar as it's like, the everything's ashes, but you're also ashes, and you're going to be seeking Cinder, and it's very similar to the other games in that way, but like clearly kind of trying to be the third final thing in the triptych. But I do appreciate that it still hits the main points. Like, there's a prophecy that we're kind of understanding in one way or another. It's cognizant of like the way that it is playing the hits, right? Like, there is a bell ringing. There's the first thing we get is the kind of like weird nebulous Nito meets the rotten kind of guy coming out of his crypt. It is not afraid to tell you it's a Souls game.
No, even like we get the giant returns from Dark Souls 2, with Yorm, really. But then Yorm even kind of has this build sort of like Nito, where he has these long, skinny little arms, despite his giant torso.
It's true. I also like that it's almost like a little bridge from the giants of Dark Souls 2 to the giant in Elden Ring, that we have like the sort of like inflamed limbs as well, like that kind of like urge to put something actually on fire within the giant itself.
Yeah, this really is like, it is kind of in some ways that intro really feels like Miyazaki kind of coming back to sort of codify things that, like, he's like, no, this is what I'm interested in. These are the aesthetics that interest me. These are the themes that interest me. And also you're fucking making me do Dark Souls 3, so fine, we're gonna do this.
Yeah, it is very much like if there's sort of a, I don't know, like a way to understand Dark Souls 2 as like a series of aesthetics that you're kind of picking and choosing from, and I think that's definitely why it draws a lot of people in. Like, this is very clearly like, okay, here's what we're doing. Like, here's what we're presenting. The aesthetic is, you're gonna either, you can kind of take it or leave it. And I think, there's something to be said for that. It's a little strange coming from Dark Souls 2 to see something so clearly defined in terms of, what plays well in Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1.
Right.
But, that was kind of expected.
Dark Souls 2 doesn't give us the here's the guys you're going to fight intro. Dark Souls 2 gives us the you're going to lose your marbles, have fun. Just throw yourself down the whirlpool. Yeah. But here it's very much like, here's the world. Here's the state of the world. Here are the major things in it that you're going to have to go and pacify. I really like the image of the Flamekeeper in the intro. I remember seeing the like the original like leak, the trailers for this, and being so fucking hype. When they showed like the Flamekeeper, and I'm just like hell yeah, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
And then I remember
it's a great image.
I remember falling off so hard. So
Trevor, a lot of people that I respect a lot have fallen off hard on this game. Andrew or Piss, who I do the anime podcast with a lot, is a vocal Dark Souls 3 hater, and like it's a I I feel like it's a divisive game in that some people are just like, this is the pinnacle of the form, and some people are like, this is garbage.
I am very interested to see where I land on it now. Before we started, I was tempted to have us go through the whole face presets thing and customize our new derby, but I realized even just taking I took pictures with my phone of like all my sliders from my PlayStation 4 save and came over here and like put them in, and even that took like 20 minutes. So I realized if we had to go through and build Derby up with this system by hand, we would be here. We wouldn't even start the tutorial section of this game tonight.
Oh,
we would.
But she looks so right. Like that's Derby.
Yeah. So all I did was I just I basically kept the sliders the same. I just recently went in. I just aged Derby up because I think that's appropriate for this this playthrough, because we've been through a lot with Derby.
Yeah.
And I think it's good. This is Derby. Here we go. Let's go. The only thing we could change Derby's hairstyle. I've got this kind of no nonsense, braid thing going on.
I think that works. We can see other hairstyles, I guess.
Yeah, we can take a look.
I will also say we might want to turn down the music when we actually get in the game.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Because I'm hearing your voice under the music.
Oh, you're hearing my voice under the music? Okay, well, then we do need to fix that.
That's okay, but we got time.
Yeah, I can always bump my vocals up independently. But once we get in, we can turn that. We can tune that.
Yeah.
I did not anticipate the volume being quite so loud with the music.
They love the music.
They
in this game.
really do. Wow.
It is good. It's really great.
I think I even turned it down initially, but what are you doing? Appearance. Where the fuck is physique? No. Build detail. Face detail, hair. God, see, it's like so.
How odd.
So much going
So
on here.
detailed.
Okay, so there's ball derby.
No, I need the yellow hair, the blonde.
I think this is actually one of the hair just originally went through, which is the. There's just kind of that.
Yeah. I'm not seeing anything I like more than the braid so far.
No.
That's interesting, I guess.
Some of these hairdos are very strange.
They're very like going into a salon and picking how you want to look at a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I feel about like giving Derby the Kristen Stewart, for instance. Like,
Yeah.
it's so weird.
No, I think. Oh wow, that's really it. Okay.
I do think it's cool that they gave. I mean, I don't know how much they were being serious about this, but it's cool that they had like a balding woman.
Yeah, you can
have a
choose whatever
female
you want, and you
character
can you can put facial hair however you want to do it.
Eh?
Okay, so all right, there we go. Now we got to make one last decision. Actually, two more decisions. Class. So, I think we've pretty much firmly established that Derby likes to use the big swords. So that's likely where we're going to end up with this game as well.
So we want strength.
So, we want to this is the thing. Where has Derby ended up with now? We abandoned Derby at the end of Dark Souls 2, and God knows how long has passed since then. Did Derby go off and continue being this kind of, just roving warrior? Did Derby become a knight? Did Derby end up in a ditch with nothing? I don't really care about stats because we're gonna have fucking plenty of
time.
stats.
You're
and
absolutely
time.
right.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't care about luck is your dump stat. I don't care. Luck is item discovery. Whatever. We're not PvP.
Show me mercenary. I want to read a little bit about what a mercenary is. Yeah, no, I don't think Derby would have been a mercenary. Derby doesn't care for material goods.
No,
very
Derby
much.
was not really just warrior for money.
And that does sound appropriate. There's something about the deprived, not in like she ended up in a ditch, but that she.
I mean, that Derby was forgotten ultimately is kind of. I'm kind of into that.
Yeah, there's something poetic about that coming from Drank Lake to here. It kind of keeps the you're gonna forget everything feeling going on. I think starting as the deprived makes some sense.
Okay, there we go. One thing I was thinking, wouldn't it be fun to just start with a fire gem?
Oh, yeah.
Or we have the sovereignless soul, which is an interesting concept. The sovereignless soul of one who slept beside you used to acquire many souls. So you just get quick infusion of souls, or we could put fire in the club.
I'm gonna say fire gem because I can't imagine Derby being connected to someone that long.
No, I didn't think so either.
Derby's a roamer.
So there we go.
All right.
Let's do it.
I love it. Look at that. We got through character creation so quickly.
We did.
Thank you for
so quickly
loading your presets. That was such a good idea because I don't want Derby to look anything but like Derby.
Real bangy there. There's the bell, and it's calling Derby up. It says, Derby, it's your time to serve. Uncle Sam needs you.
Is Dark Souls a metaphor for the U.S. War Machine?
Yes.
My treatise.
So here we are in the Cemetery of Ash. And now let me adjust these sounds. Because, wow, these... Yeah, wow, it's on a 5. There we go.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot.
Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
It's exciting.
That's good. Good. Still, the sound effects are still just riotous. That wind effect.
Listen, you came to Dark Souls not to hear your friends or yourself think. You came to hear some...
I came to hear wind. And there's Derby. Doesn't have a lot of clothes going on. Okay, we don't want a plank shield. We don't care about that.
Is Derby currently unhollowed, or is she?
Derby
human?
is currently unhollowed, it would seem.
It doesn't.
Or wait.
Yeah.
Or maybe Derby's just not kind of gnarly yet. I don't know.
Yeah, Derby is not decayed, even a little.
Yeah. But Derby
looks remarkably good for being in the grave for millennia. Or
yeah, for
however
God
long.
knows how long. So let me see what's going on here. It's weird playing this game at 60 frames a second.
I bet.
Like that alone is just a bizarre thing to do. There's Derby's grave. So Derby got a grave.
That's pretty good.
That's an important thing to note. Derby got a grave.
Well, I feel like Derby at some point would have done enough to be like remembered by someone. Like we don't know if Kale survived because we couldn't find him in the end. But if Kale was around, I think Kale would have wanted Derby to have a grave.
That's true. There's a lot of graves here. A lot of big stone graves. That grave just has some rocks in it.
Yeah, that's not good.
Everything's so shiny in this engine. It's very weird to me. That was always a weird thing when I first played through this and Bloodborne. Is just the level of sheen that everything kind of picks up.
Well, it's so different. Like it's so different than what you end up seeing in the first two games, and especially in Dark Souls 2. Like
yeah,
it is so. I mean, it has a very real like PS3, Xbox 360. We are making graphics look really good kind of feel, which is odd considering when it came out, but
yeah. But there's a lot of gravestones everywhere. I kind of like this like weird, just the gravestones on top of gravestones on top of gravestones on top of gravestones.
I love the I mean, I'll admit it. I'm a sucker for the Miyazaki gravestone aesthetic. I love how many gravestones he
really he really loves to just mound things up. Even more like Tim Burton could never.
It's true.
There's my target lock. I have to remember how to play a Dark Souls. There we go.
Oh, looks like you figured it out.
Yeah, you haven't lost it. The touch.
Don't forget how to hit R1 that quickly. I like the roll mechanic. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
She's really throwing herself into it there.
Yeah, the way you kind of kick your whole feet up in the air is very. It's a little silly, but it works. Okay, let's see what else we got going on here.
My
Oh,
brain
there's another.
keeps like thinking to myself, this is like a Dark Souls Uncharted game, which obviously it's not. But like, there's an element of like when I've watched people play Uncharted, this reminds me of it.
Yeah, I could see that. So here we have this. Is that
Ashen Estus.
is that what's
That's the.
that is the fluted set, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
Or the
just
elite
your- that's
elite
your-
knight set. Yeah, that's what's his face.
That's the standard. Isn't that like the bog standard Souls avatar?
Yeah, well, it's because that's definitely the pattern from what's his face's shield. Not God, what's his name? Home Slice from Astora or whatever.
Oh, oh shoot, yeah. Ugh, I have to look that up. It's gonna bother me.
Oscar.
Thank you.
I was like, I'm gonna remember it as soon as you go to look it up, and I'll tell
I
you.
should have remembered it because he shares your name with my son, but so it goes.
So it's funny because I vaguely remember my way around Dark Souls 3's like opening, like just almost
Because you played it so many
that's-
times trying to get back into it.
Oh, there we go. Look at that. Derby's
Yeah,
getting
alright.
into the swing of things.
I think Derby's enjoying the club. That's just kind of like a fun little twist on things.
Well, you know, Derby likes things that you can just hit the shit out of something with until it stops moving.
Yeah,
And
makes
here we
sense.
are. We're high up. We're high up in the mountains.
Ooh, beautiful.
And this,
I will say the sheen really works on the mountains.
it does.
Make them
Um,
pop.
And there's a big castle wall, and there's a big castle over there. So there's castle kind
It's
of.
very Sen's Fortress to me.
It is. Look at these weird stones. They kind of stick
Yeah.
out. They stick out in a weird way. It's very interesting. It's very like they're not physics objects in the way that you'd almost expect them to be, but
They're just there.
they're just there.
Miyazaki
Yeah.
sees the world in terms of having a bunch of big stones in the road. It's
Now,
about that time he was stuck in the snow and there were a bunch of big stones in the road.
now I hit that bonfire because I just wanted to hit that bonfire that's. But there's a big guy over this way. I know the big guy over this way
Nice.
because he always wrecks me. But you know what? Let's have some fun and let's give it a shot.
Why not?
Why not? You know? Let's see what this says. Turn back.
Deep water. Yeah, well.
Yeah, you can say
what if we
tell
did?
me to turn back if you want. I'm not gonna. This is Derby. Derby doesn't listen to that shit. Derby only has 124
First time
souls.
we've had like chest deep water that, like,
Doesn't kill you instantly?
yeah.
Yeah. So there's this big crystal lizard looking motherfucker. Oh,
Okay. We've got a lot of HP.
oh shit. Oh shit.
Whoa. Cool.
Going over here, big boy. Derby's been asleep, but Derby still got it.
Oh yeah. Derby is feeling fleet and dangerous after like not carrying that broadsword.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Yes. Let's go.
Let's fucking go. Derby did it.
That rules.
Holy shit.
That rocks. Very good work.
Look at Derby.
Derby is like covered in the muck.
Derby's
This
covered
is-
in mud. Derby just killed a
this is Dark
giant
Souls.
crystal lizard with a club.
Listen, I take back everything negative I've implied. about
Trevor,
this game
it's
that
like I
rules.
said, the reason I named this show what I did because all is for the best in this, the best of all possible souls. Trevor, do you want to tell people who are listening who might not know about
Candide.
about Candide, about Pangloss and Leibniz?
Okay, so we can talk about Leibniz. Leibniz.
Let's fucking do it.
Yeah. So
I think Leibniz is appropriate to Dark Souls.
I think so. So my understanding of the theory of the best of all possible worlds with Leibniz is, it's essentially, you're essentially talking about sort of a half proof of God with Leibniz at all times. And so Leibniz posits that we are currently living in the best of all possible worlds because, theoretically speaking, I forget what his actual claim is, what the theoretical claim is why we are living in the best of all possible worlds. Yeah, right. So it's because it's a proof of God. So if we are in fact living in the best of all possible worlds that we could imagine, it is because it is as God made it. It's a sort of in a lot of ways it is a vibes based philosophy, wherein Leibniz kind of looks at the world and says everything seems to be going about as well as it could be, and if we assume a benevolent creator, then that is as expected. I find it's a little less compelling than his stuff about monads and how the world's created and stuff. I think
It's true, but isn't this man's shaky head proof of God?
It's proving it to me. Well, and that's the neat thing about the best of all possible worlds. It's like a theory, right? It's also the proof against any proof of quote unquote proof of the existence of God ends up being essentially the same thing, where it's hey, imagine things are pretty good right now. What do you say to that, atheists? And it's fine. I'm not trying to make any sort of point about the appropriateness of Leibniz defending his faith. I think that's fine, but it's true that the general vibe of the world's pretty good, and I think there's a God, so this must be as good as it gets, and we just have to kind of work to make it better all the time in what we can do. Sort of goes along with this idea that the world is intricately created on these tiny blocks of existence, which again Leibniz calls monads, and Dark Souls might just call lore. Those two things kind of go together, dare I say, dialectically. To say there's a general truth. There's a general truth of the world in that it is as a whole the best, but as a piecemeal, it is it's a very carefully crafted set of contingencies and ephemera and a house of cards that is created by our auteur or our god, or in this case I think in a sort of Gnostic sense, Derby.
Thank you, Trevor. That was wonderful. I'm sorry.
Oh, good.
I was I have
right.
to put Trevor on the spot. As soon as conceived of, I was like, okay, I'm gonna call this the best of all possible worlds. I'll run it by Trevor, see what he thinks, and then ultimately just go with it anyway.
And then put him on the spot. Yeah.
And then put Trevor on the spot to talk about Leibniz.
I did my best. I'm not as much of a Leibnizian scholar as I am sort of later philosophers, but I can do my best, and I'm glad it was okay.
Yeah, you did great.
Where's Derby's dark mark?
What's with Derby's weird inverse tattoo that shows up when she gets Derby?
It's you see the snout and the smile.
Yeah.
It looks like a barbecue mascot. You know those ones that they're
Kind of, yeah.
I'm so happy to be eaten kind of thing.
Yeah. So I just went through and just kind of cleaned out this whole space so that we can make an easy run to the boss, because there's a boss at the end of this, and the boss is kind of a dick slap.
You just beat the Crystal Lizard.
I did just beat the Crystal Lizard, which I didn't do my first time playing Dark Souls 3, but then I also spent an hour and a half fighting the first boss. who's coming up. The tutorial boss. The tutorial boss.
Tutorial boss is tough in this one. I gotta say, like, the first time I played this, because I've only ever played like maybe like a couple hours into this game. I've gotten a feel for it, but like when I did play it, I remember the tutorial boss. The first time I played it, I was thinking, okay, so this is the boss that you fight and you lose to, and then it actually puts you into the real world. But no,
Yeah, he's not.
This is a boss that you have to beat.
He's a boss you have to beat. And so if we look across, we've got all these mountains and things like that. And there's over here, there's this big castle behind us, this big fuck off castle. But then over here, there's this tower, this bell tower, and this little weird, squat, kind of looks kind of like an octagonal building with those kind of archways around it connected to another tower.
It is like it's in the storied tradition of Dark Souls having several architectural ideas at once. Like it is, it's funny to see the giant castle there, and then like sort of, like that is one sort of like I've made a castle in Germany in the 19th century to do like a return.
I was gonna say, like, there's this like it does have that kind of like Neuschwanstein,
Yes.
like, not exactly high medieval, like, but this kind of like, fantastical remembrance of like weren't castles so incredible, and let's return
Yes.
to that period of time when castles were incredible, and feudalism existed. Like there's
the desire to return back to the old feudalism, old faith.
there's a terrifying fascism to this castle fantasy over here.
Yeah, and then in that, there's also a terrifying fascism to that castle insofar as like any fascist movement worth its salt these days will show you, Roman architecture and say like, don't you wish it was back to the old days?
Look how self-sustaining they are.
Yeah, right. They're just vibing. They have all these fields. They're making enough food for my 7 children. My 7 evil children.
Evil children.
But I do like that it's like it's not quite Grecian or Roman. It is like that strange British, like UK, ruin that you happen upon when they're like, oh yeah, this is a 12th century church. We couldn't keep this one up.
Yeah, no, it definitely has that vibe. Like it's not quite Romanesque, but it's like what someone built in the 1100 AD.
Yeah, and it's not nearly as like ornate as the castle as a result. Like it's much more austere, even if it's still like quite impressive.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I also like the squatness of that. Like it's like it should have been a tower, but then someone just kind of built it into this squat little, like, almost like yurt-like structure.
Yeah. It is very yurtish. That's a really good point.
Like it's not tall enough. It doesn't have enough stories to be as wide as it is, like medieval buildings tended to be, not that squat and big.
Well, and they were never like built that.
They're not very broad.
No, yeah, that too. Like I think like that idea of a bell tower is a much more it's a much later kind of Gothic thing, but it fits there in a certain way. I mean, again, like, this feels in some ways like a bit of a cop out because it's just like, oh, it works because it works, but like it's true that it just kind of like Dark Souls has like broken us in from the beginning to accept the architecture of the world just as it is. Like everything is kind of mixed together. And that's just kind of how it has to be. So it works in that regard. Like I think it's hard to say like, oh, I don't like it because it doesn't quite match what would be real. Like in many ways, like all of the FromSoft games are unconcerned with realism, and for that I really appreciate them.
All right, so we got this boss up here.
Boobly.
Trevor.
Here we go.
Oh, I meant to turn this into an Estus flask. That's okay. Oh, wait, I can't do that here. That's right. Never mind.
Yeah, you can't do it yet.
I forgot.
It is funny that they have a way to restore FP when like you can't use FP.
I mean, you could start as a sorcerer, and then
Oh yeah, good point.
you'd get one. You'd get one restore.
Good luck.
All right, so here we go. Here we're gonna fight this boss in this weird little arena. It's very much a purposeful arena. There's this big tree growing out of this massive sarcophagus.
I love the tree growing out of the massive sarcophagus.
I do too. It's
what
good.
a cool look. It's really good.
I like the way, and this is nature. This is a thing in nature, but the canopy mirrors the root structure, and which is both terrifying, and the root structure kind of almost has this feeling of like bodies kind of piled and woven into one another.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah, it looks like limbs in the sense of like arms and legs.
Like bodies just kind of draped together and like writhing around one another, and then you get these very kind of like fractal branches up at the top. This like really dry stick kindling.
Yeah, no, I love the kind of like I don't want to say liminal because that's so overused, but like let's say like indecisive quality of this. Like, is this tree alive or dead? Like, I'm pretty sure it's dead, but like if you told me it was alive, I would also believe that.
This thing is like, you know, I look at this, I look at the landscape here, and I'm like, nothing here could possibly be alive, and yet like this stuff might be alive still. I don't know if that weird grass is
and
alive.
The roots seem to be like coursing through the rock, like seeking something.
Yeah, like
they appear brittle, but they appear pretty much like they're spreading too. Well, so it is that.
And so this is an interesting thing. So like roots seek water. You know, like if you pro tip, water, when you water your plants, water from the saucer at the bottom of the plant, and one, you won't worry so much about overwatering your plants, but also the roots will grow straight down towards the water rather than in a circle, and that'll prevent the roots from strangling the plant.
Interesting.
Yeah, but so these roots are kind of growing and trying to seek water, but you need a substrate. You need something for the root to grow in initially. So what was this tree growing in?
I guess like the giant body.
Like was it growing in the body because of the sarcophagus? Like what was there dirt? Was there water? What was going on here? Trees really require a lot of nutrients to grow too, is the thing. Like, you know, plants require a lot of nutrients, but trees, like a tree that big, that old, that tree is going to require so much nutrients. And you can tell, like, this is a hungry tree. It's looking all over for nutrients
it's going for it, yeah.
So that's,
you're right. It's going for the water in the middle there.
It is kind of going for the water in the middle. Yeah. How did this water get here? Was this, you know, we kind of have these archways over on the sides, and they kind of mirror the aqueduct that we had in Dark Souls 1, but they also just seem like archways. And like, we're, you know, we've seen structures that just have lots of archways in them. Like that's an architectural style. This doorway over there, for instance, has lots of arches in it.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily that it's like an aqueduct the way it was in Dark Souls 1, but also there's this big giant pool of water in the middle here.
And you could say, like, you could make the argument, oh, you know, it was a lake before it was this or whatever. But like, it has that little pedestal in the middle, which sort of seems to be like, okay, like, why is that there? Is that meant to be there so you can service the aqueduct or clear out like clogs or whatever? Like, it does seem structurally there. And I'm sure like plants grew in aqueducts all the time. I mean, why wouldn't they, right?
I mean, I imagine so.
All you need is sediment and water, and plants are pretty.
I mean, plants don't even need plant. You know, plenty of plants will grow in water. I've got lots of plants just growing in an aquarium tank behind me.
Yep.
You know, plants that were growing in dirt that I cut limbs off of, and they just put them in there. They started growing roots. You know, that's a thing you can do. These plants are clearly growing, you know, partially immersed. They could have easily grown submerged. This could be some kind of weird kelp, for God's sakes. But then there's all these candles around. And also, who's lighting these fucking candles?
I was just about to ask that. Like, what? How nice that people are still lighting candles to the...
And all over. All over.
Dead.
These candles are being lit all over. Also, it seems like it sounds very windy up here, and yet these candles are doing perfectly well staying lit.
Well, we're in a bit of maybe the wind is coming from around, not where it's
it's whipping around. these plants are moving, but not that much. So it's understandable.
It's getting all that crepuscular ray, which is really nice for the candles. Probably not so nice for the probably okay for the plants.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Not getting scorched.
All right, so here's this weird guy. He's in the middle. He got this big spear thing. He's got a sword inside of him. He's got this shit growing out of his back.
I do like that. That's very, very troubling.
We walk up, it just says remove sword. Which just seems like it's just great because it's just like this seems like such a terrible idea. Like why on earth would any rational actor do this? But we're gonna do it.
Yeah, it's because it's your only option.
It's our only option.
Souls games, it is your only option.
And so we got this big sword that we pulled out of his back.
Just vanishes.
Strike damage, baby. What do you think? Oh shit. Okay, you thought.
This is Iudex.
Oh
Iudex
shit.
Gundyr.
Yeah.
Iudex, which is sort of like.
Oh, son of a bitch. Son of a bitch.
First death.
Yeah, Iudex
like
Gundyr.
I like that it's close to Codex, which I could imagine, and Gungnir, which I could also imagine for a guy with a big sword spear. But, like, it's not either of them.
No. Fucker. All right, so there's our first death. That was our inaugural death of the best of all possible souls.
I really like that. What I love about that death is it wasn't like the boss that you're like supposed to lose to, that giant crystal lizard. You handled it. It's the boss that you're like quote unquote not supposed to lose to.
Yeah,
and
and
as you say, like
now the thing that sucks is we don't get those like first like dozen free hits.
Yep.
And I have to retrieve these souls every time, because
you better, because I mean that's a bunch of
4,000 souls at this point. Yeah, wow, that's like
that's not nothing.
I got greedy there. Oh, and then he does that. Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. Just in case you were worried this was going to be too easy.
Yeah, in case you thought, oh, it's just circle around, repeat. No.
No. It is funny how much people talk about like the difficulty in Elden Ring and stuff. Like this game really, like, I think as far as like difficulty goes, this is like an entry point is the hardest in any of the games. Like that you're actually expected to beat. I don't think there's anything quite like this in Bloodborne, and certainly in Dark Souls 2 and 1, like, and Demon Souls, you're not expected to win your initial like hopeless battles.
No, like Bloodborne. I mean, that's the thing is that Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, Demon Souls, they give you a good lead up to the game before they throw your first boss at you. Like, you're gonna spend quite some time plunking around before you have to go and fight the first demon and demons in Dark Souls.
Shoot.
Now
Now I'm just thinking of the Elden Ring guy.
not the tourist. It's tourist demon. Tourist demon.
Is it the Taurus demon the first one you fight?
Is it the first one?
Or is it the Covetous? No, not the
No,
Covetous demon.
it's something. It's something demon. The first demon you fight in Demon Souls on the bridge. Anyway, it's been a minute.
Asylum demon
Asylum.
in Dark Souls.
Oh yeah, I guess you fight the Asylum demon first in Dark Souls 1.
And
he's
the Phalanx boss, I guess, is the first.
you do a lot before you get to the phalanx.
Yeah, no, that doesn't seem right.
No, that's the first boss in Demon Souls. Is the
Oh,
phalanx.
Vanguard Demon. Vanguard Demon is Demon Souls, the tutorial boss.
Oh yeah. Come on, Iudex.
This is like levels of difficulty higher. And it also speaks to the point, like the fact that these games have gotten so popular that it's a fair bet when you're starting that, like, you know, you have like a good number of people who are coming into this having played at least one, if not two, of these games.
Shit. Son of a bitch.
I hate that.
Yeah, I forgot. Like, that guy's just, he's a pain in the ass.
I mean, it really is like this is really like the first boss, I think, in a Souls game where it's clear, you know, the people designing it are like, yeah, you know, I think people know what a Souls game is. Let's just give them something hard to start with.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels like there's a lot of this game that definitely feels kind of like so this is how you talk about our game. This is what you assholes want. And I remember when I first encountered Iudex, it really was like a kind of a well, this is because of the fandom. This is happening to us because of that.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely because of the fandom, and like in a way that, like, on some level, it is the kind of winking, knowing thing. Like, oh yeah, you want it hard. Here's hard off the bat. Isn't this what you like? But also, the bosses in this game can be...
Ow, son of a bitch. Go up here, homie. Nope.
Okay.
I was like, let's
Well,
see what
I
happens
like-
when you have no room to maneuver.
I liked the vision there.
Yeah, you know. It makes it easier when I have to collect my souls, if nothing else.
It's true. Keeps us focused.
All these little fading souls.
Yeah, how much do the fading souls give you? It's not a lot, right?
25 or 100, something like that.
It's neat that there's like a little thing that like most mobs give you though. Like that seems to be a little different then.
Oh, son of a bitch. Oh.
Oh,
I'm not even quite sure what hit me that time with him.
I think he punched you in the face. Which is a
That's fair.
dramatic move. At least the boss run isn't so bad.
No, that is the thing with Dark Souls 3 is very few of the boss runs have any kind of heft to them.
And you can bet someone complained about that.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure people like really threw a shit fit about the DLC, and Derby, you seem so happy and ready to go.
Derby's having a great time.
I did forget, like, one of the things about this game is, like, if you don't have armor in certain slots, it's like having negative armor in those slots or something.
Oh,
Yeah, the way the
Oh.
armor system in this works is weird. It's like you have to have something in every slot, basically.
They got tired of like,
Son
not
of a
doing it.
bitch. Stop that shit, homie. Okay, fine.
That was okay. That was an anger run.
Yeah, that was
I
an anger run.
appreciate
That was full tilt.
You're just like, you know what?
Yeah,
Screw you.
that was not having any of it. I told you this is why we needed to have the character
Pre-built,
creation
yeah.
up, like done up front, because it's gonna spend
gonna
you
take a
know
minute.
an hour fighting fucking Iudex Gundyr, fucking Solomon Grundy ass motherfucker.
We hate
Stick him on the fucking moon.
Eustace Grinder.
Eustace Grinder. I remember the first time I encountered him, and I was like, Iudex, like, wait a minute, like, in Latin, I is the J. Is there some, like, weird anti-Semitism in Dark Souls?
That'd be a really weird place. I honestly, like, listen, I don't want to
Oh.
say it could. Oh.
I forgot about this. Out of my way,
Shocking
Iudex.
that doesn't kill you.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, listen, maybe there could. I'm not saying there couldn't be anti-Semitism in Dark Souls, but what a weird place to find it.
Bitch. Ah,
Oh my.
yeah.
I mean, the end's in sight. For sure. That rat form is terrifying.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like it's got like a name like the pus of humanity or something like that.
Gross.
Which is like, it's funny because like it has this like, it does have that kind of rat face quality to it, which is interesting given that, like, you know, where do you farm humanity in Dark Souls? You farm it from the rats.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do the rats have it? It's because they gnaw on corpses. Actually, I want to see something. Is there a weird tutorial list? No, there isn't.
If you have a shield on, does your defense go up?
No.
Okay.
You can use it to block, but that shield doesn't do anything. That's a joke shield that they brought over from Bloodborne, basically. The shield where they make fun of you for using a shield in Bloodborne.
I mean, very reasonable.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So, Iudex or Iudex means judge in Latin.
That makes sense.
And Gun in Norse, or in Old Germanic, excuse me, means master.
Ah, so he's the battle judge.
He is the battle judge.
How appropriate. That's such a fucking Vadi thing.
Oh yeah, it really is. I love, like, I'm reading the lore theories on Factor Life. Like, Gundyr, corrupted by the abyss, spends eternity testing unkindled to see if they are worthy to link the flame. He was once unkindled himself, but arose too late to fulfill his duty, never meeting his firekeeper, who had been buried. It's like, there's just like so much here. It's like, or he's just like, he's Iudex Gundyr. Like, there's a point at which, like, lore gets, and I think, like, Dark Souls 3 may be the tipping point for me, where lore just gets to be like your MCU fan theory kind of thing. Like, I need every last thing to connect somehow.
Yeah, and that is the thing with, like, oh, son of a bitch.
Ugh.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Damn it.
God damn it. We're gonna get all the Dark Souls deaths out of the way right up front. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. There's not gonna be any more after
No.
this.
Well, after this, we're gonna 100% this game, 0 deaths. It's gonna just 360 no scope every single boss.
But like, you know, I appreciate some of the like. I mean, I'm not just not. It isn't ever to say like I don't like the story in these games. I mean, we worked out all the stuff about the Milfinitos and stuff like that. It's interesting, but like, I don't really need to know like, oh yeah, so like this guy here. Okay, so here's his whole deal. This is who he was 5 years ago. This is who he is now. Like, some of the ambiguity of like the characters in the first few games, I appreciate, as opposed to just like fully worked out stories.
Son of a bitch.
Of I mean, Elden Ring is another level of this, but
Yeah. Oh. I was like, surely he's gonna go the other direction. I'm fine walking this way.
I mean, it was a good bet.
Got me as I was coming up. I feel like I should have been battle judged by the Crystal Demon, like Crystal Lizard guy.
Yeah,
You know, that
come
feels like
on.
enough of a battle judge.
This feels like a ridiculous, like, battle judge, honestly. No one's gonna link the flame at this rate.
No. Now I'm
I was
super.
gonna say.
That's how you know when you're like super tilted and you're just like you get wrecked by the literal first mob.
It's like, okay, I'm like, I'm not thinking right now.
No, I was definitely not thinking there. Oh, I forgot. I think I have like weapon art too, because this is where we start with the weapon arts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I should.
Oh, interesting.
Is it L2? Yeah, there we go. Ugh. Let's go, Iudex. Oh shit, where are my souls? Oh, there they are over here. Oh, fucking hell. Oh.
Yes!
There we go. We just had to get
Couldn't
tilted
quite kill
enough.
us. Couldn't quite kill us 10 times.
Air of fire destroyed, bitches. Oh, there we go. Now our embers restored. That's right.
Look, we're all flamed up there.
Yeah, we're all inflamed. We need some fucking.
Ouch!
We need to call Shaq and get some Bengay. We get his little Shaq's tens unit.
He does love to give Bengay to people.
Well, he's a spokesman.
I do love Shaq's love of being a spokesman for anyone who will give him 2% of the profits of their company lifetime.
Yeah. No,
It rocks. It's very cool.
totally the way to be.
I also like that he can't be served for the FTX stuff over DM. That's very funny to me.
Oh God. I just love Shaq, the idea that like the tens unit that you can go and buy at like Rite Aid is this like the little oh, it's icy hot is what is Shaq's.
Oh yeah, okay. He didn't do Bengay. It was icy hot. Yeah.
Icy hot, the little icy hot tens unit with the teeny little normal person pads are the same tens unit that Shaq uses. It's just like, please, my man, you are 7 feet tall. I know for a fact.
Get a bigger one.
I know for a fact you have a shack-sized toilet. You have a shack-sized tens unit. Don't fuck with me.
You have a shack size. He's a shack size bed. He's beyond California King.
Oh yeah, no, there's no way.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Broken straight sword.
Yeah, broken straight sword. That's some useful shit.
I love
open menu. We can open a menu now. Oh, that's not it. That's the open menu button.
Oh, phew.
Glad we just now learned how to do that.
What's that treasure over there?
Over there?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have to work our way over there because there's all these guys in these robes. I don't like these hollows as much as I like
the other hollows.
The other
classic hollows.
Classic hollows are more interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree.
I was really
These
disappointed.
just sort of look like. Oh, good.
Oh, it's like these to me are fucking homeward bones. There we
Let's
go.
go.
We can use some homeward bones. I do like we can do this. You gonna fall? There, there we go. Bye.
Woo! Get that body out of here. Go away. Oh boy, cool split. Yeah, I think they just kind of look like generic cultists when they're in the robes.
Yeah,
I like how gnarled the classic hollows are.
And I don't really get a sense that we never really get a sense of okay, why are they weird cultists? But not in a Dark Souls doesn't explain itself sort of way. Just kind of a, they're cultists, They're we opened the dungeon manual, the dungeon master's manual, and they were or the monster manual, and they were let's use some cultists.
Right.
Let's just roll up 2d6 cultists and just kind of throw them in here. That's all we got to do.
I will admit, to say something very nice about this, I do love this whole area up here. I think it's really cool.
Oh, I think this the run up is neat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really neat, and I love that it's well, I mean, not to give it away, but it's sort of where your base is. I mean, it doesn't give it away because that's kind of.
I was
how
gonna
every
say,
Dark Souls
yeah.
game it goes.
No, we fought a boss and now we're gonna. But yeah, these basic hollows, I don't.
Yeah, they're
I'm
fine.
less into.
Yeah,
they're
they don't have a
fine.
lot of character.
They don't have a lot of personality behind them, which is fine. That's the thing. I don't think everything needs to have personality, a whole lot of personality behind it. But I feel like there is an absence of personality there that I would be expecting from Dark Souls normally. And so here we are. We're going to go into this structure.
Now, speaking of not an absence of personality, this room is so cool.
So there we are. We came from there. There's the tree where we fought Iudex.
Gorgeous.
We came up this hill, and this is that weird squat structure we.
Oh, of course. Naturally.
Now, Trevor, when you first played this, did you have any idea that you were going to walk into Firelink Shrine, official, or did you think it was going to be something else?
I thought it was gonna be something else. I definitely popped off when I saw it was the Firelink Shrine that I knew and loved.
It was really funny because when it came to be Firelink Shrine, and they're this is Firelink Shrine, and I was just kind of looked at, I was looking at the camera, I was just no, it isn't. It's just fuck you.
Yeah, it's a version of Firelink Shrine.
Which is funny because on this the one hand, I am not that person. I don't believe in being that person. This is a game about things iterate and evolve, and we're moving through, in theory we are moving through millennia, just even though if that's a kind of a questionable concept, millennia not in terms of 1,000 years, but in terms of the kind of weird amorphous concept of kind of eras. But we come to here and we get this Yudakitamura choir and string ensemble piece. This extremely you heard it in Bloodborne. Now here you go. I am so hard on Yudakitamura, so hard. She's fine. She does really great work. I swear she does great work.
This isn't a Koji Fox moment.
It's not a Koji Fox moment. It's just I want something different from Souls.
Yeah, I hear that. Like, I really like this music. I also don't totally know if I like it for a Souls game.
Like, even, like, honestly, even, like, there are parts of Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2 scores that I'm just kind of like, because Demon Souls was such a profoundly interesting score for the action RPG space that, like, once we kind of get into, like, choir, like, you know, either bombastic choir and, you know, then, like, kind of single voice and single string arrangements, I'm just kind of like, this just feels like a little bit kind of on the nose.
Yeah, I hear you.
Even when they're really good pieces, it just feels a little bit too...
little much.
Yeah.
I think, like, you know what, I will say, and this is a thing I genuinely think is good about Elden Ring. If they were going to stick with this kind of music, like the high orchestral stuff, that game matches that more.
Yes.
Like, that's a space where it makes sense. Like, I feel like Dark Souls, the way they've sort of set it up, is so much more muted and, like, dead, and, like, yeah, I don't know, like, there's something much more I don't know, not front and center. Like the orchestral stuff, like, especially with, like, the piercing female vocals, like the sort of, like, contra, or, like, the it's kind of like a contralto. Like, it's so, like, it's so right there, right in front of you, and that's not really what I want out of these soundtracks. I want them to sort of, like, sneak up on me a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. One of the things I like about, like Demon Souls is the soundtrack. You know, it's trying to do all of this stuff. Like, you know, it's doing this, like, weird medieval, you know, kind of, like, goofy Ren Fair music, but it's all so synthetic, and so kind of overly arranged, and, you know, like, it's run through so many different kind of like psychological processes that I think it becomes an interesting, you know, counterpoint to a game that would easily be written off as, oh, it's just kind of European medieval fantasy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this, again, like, I don't know, like, there's a lot about this game that I really love so far, but there's a lot that also just feels like it's very on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, so, like, you know, it's like depressing, right? We've all sort of agreed that Dark Souls is about depression, so we will do, like, high orchestral sad music. It's a tragedy. It has to be a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, it was sort of more interesting when you had to decide if it was a tragedy or not. Like, that.
Yeah.
It's like pointing it out so obviously at the beginning is a little disappointing.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, it matches it too. It matches too patly. It's just a little too pat, and
Yep.
This is, like, you know,
I agree.
Like, but I do, like, I really like God, there's a Charnel House Road or whatever in Gatwick Charnel Road or whatever in Bloodborne, where, like, that is a really, like, Yuki Kitamura's whole, you know, solo cello, you know, really works, like, super well for that region, because it is a spooky ghost story about a gross little town where bodies go. Yeah. Like,
right. Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know,
and, yeah, you're right. Like, this kind of music works better for Bloodborne as well. Like, I think there's something sort of, like, ineffable about Souls games that it doesn't quite nail, and maybe a good part of that is just because, like, you know, the fandom kind of defined the game in a way that I think maybe it never should have been, like, fully defined. It was better when it was a little less sketched out.
I'm gonna, you know, 'cause I want us to explore Firelink for, like, you know, to kind of close out this.
Yeah, of course.
Because we've got a half hour maybe, but, like, I want to kind of explore. I don't think I like this vision of Firelink.
Okay.
I think it feels.
Do you like it if it's not Firelink?
I don't think so, because I think ultimately it still feels too much like a fucking video game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I think about, like, you know, like, the big complaint about Dark Souls 2 is, oh, well, it's hub and spoke. So, like, you know, you go through these corridors and you go to, like, your levels. But, like, there's something about, these weird thrones kind of arranged around, you know, the Firelink. And then there's a Firekeeper. And then we go back. And then there's the little, you know, the room where there's, like, you know, the Andre, and he's hammering away. We're gonna meet him in a minute. Just, you know, hold your horses if you've never played this game. Trust me. Andre, our friend Andre, is here.
Yeah, for some reason he came too.
Like, and then there's
I'm glad he came.
There's very
Good
clear like wings where it's like, oh, here's an NPC's gonna pop up here, and here's an NPC gonna pop up here, and it feels very MMO. It feels like an MMO hub. It feels like a hub in a way that Majula didn't feel like a hub, in the way that, you know, Firelink Original didn't feel like a hub. It has kind of a Nexus quality to it, but even the Nexus felt weirder. Mm-hmm. This feels too... I'm going to say a really shitty douchebag thing. But, like, trust me, I'm going somewhere. This feels too familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I get it. Like, okay, it's supposed to feel familiar. Because, like, this feels familiar in a game sense. The conceptual, you know, reality of this space feels overly familiar.
No, I hear you.
And
like, I think, like...
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, I think, you know, like... If you look at all the games that preceded it, right, even like including Bloodborne, which I think, you know, I have a pretty, you know, uniformly positive opinion on. I think you're a little more split on it, but like even Bloodborne, right, like you look at the 4 games that preceded this, like each one kind of throws you for a loop at the beginning. Everything is unfamiliar. You kind of have to like adapt yourself to the space in a very real way. And in this is very much like, don't worry, you're back where it's comfortable. Which is always my I mean, this came up like again and again when I was writing the book. Like, this is where I find my taste towards series really turning away from a positive, where like they're like, oh geez, people didn't like when we departed. Let's get it back to really comfortable. And that's kind of it's a little bit what Firelink Shrine is. Like, it's just like, okay, chill out. Like, we got everything here. We can just get right into the meat of it. You don't have to worry about like figuring out what the space is.
Now, see, it's interesting because I read Dark Souls 3 with a grain of contempt, that there is a sneering quality to it. Whereas, like, what you just said feels like you read it with a more of a pacifying sort of quality.
Oh, yeah, no, I think it's pacifying. I think it's like, because, yeah, I think it's similar to what happened with Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, where, like, the second game was... fractious. Like, some people liked it, some people didn't, and for like completely different reasons, right? Like, I think by and large people liked Metal Gear Solid 2, whereas, you know, the Dark Souls 2 had to sort of like have a long tail where people started appreciating it after the fact. But like, there were things people didn't like, and I think like in the third games, it was like, it's a return to like, okay, listen, let's go back to the story that, or the characters, or the aesthetic that we know really banged in that first one, or like the parts people really liked. I mean, that's how I read it, but I also can see the contempt in that, like, it is just like the destruction of this world in a way. It's like, okay, we're gonna end the story in the saddest way possible.
Yeah. Except the difference is Metal Gear 3 slapped.
It's still really good. I mean, that's it's hard. I'm mad that they moved. I mean, I have a whole thing I can say about that, but like, it's still a great game. Like, that's the thing. It's still like, still a blast.
All right, so there's this guy over here we could talk to. He looks pretty crestfallen, wouldn't you say?
I wonder what his voice will be like.
Ah, another one roused from the sleep of death. Well, you're not alone. We unkindled are worthless. Can't even die right. Gives me conniptions. And they'd have us seek the lords of Cinder and return them to their moulding thrones. But we're talking true legends, with the metal to link the fire. We're not fit to lick their boots.
Collapse.
This
don't you
guy's
think?
as sad as they come. Still laughs though. That's good.
Yeah. Also, wow, holy shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's really loud.
Okay, yeah, we had.
I feel like it's ringing in my ears, like I just left a show.
He was the most just booming tragic man. Holy shit.
Leans in completely close to the mic. Looks like you died too.
What a sick joke. Asking us to seek the Lords of Cinder and return them to their molding thrones. We're talking true legends, those who would link the fire.
So I like that, like, we're talking true legends, those who would link the fire, except, like, okay, so these are all dudes who linked the fire previously. So that's a lot of motherfuckers who've linked the fire since Derby decided not to.
It is kind of like, I think that's an interesting, I will say, I think that's an interesting reading of Dark Souls 1, where, like, you're given this, like, really important decision at the end of the game. And I know people will say, like, oh, well, then canonically it means the flame. But, like, I think, like, it's, like, more interesting to imagine, like, it doesn't actually so much matter if you link the flame or not. Like, it feels like a momentous decision that is then, like, repeated again and again, and, like, to its, you know, it's sort of, like, tragic end. Because, you know, if you, I think the majority of people would link the flame and sort of like rise to ambition and stuff like that. And I think the idea that there are like multiple people who have done it and have become like these sort of like truly kind of depressing figures, is pretty interesting.
Yeah. One of the interesting things I think is that, you know, so we've got the Watchers of the Abyss. They have. Why is it Watchers of the Abyss? Did they all link the flame together? Like,
yeah, it was a team thing. It's like it's like BTS.
Like, did we need to get, like, okay, so Yorm is giant. Did, like, we really, like, did you know, what's the order that these guys linked the flame in? Did, like, we need a whole bunch of dudes, and then, like, it's like, well, shit, we need a big motherfucker. Were these guys kindling for the, like, is Yorm the log? And the Watchers were like the little bullshit sticks, like not necessarily like, you know, the initial starter, like the birch bark starter, but they were the dry spruce needles that, like, you know, that you then had to turn into.
Then you toss Yorm on, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also interesting that, like, if you imagine that all these people kindled the flame, then what that means is each one then had to kill one of the other lords in here. So you're like linking the Lords of Cinder are all coming back, but like they've all been
that's right,
killed off at some point.
Yeah. Holy King Lothric, last hope of his line. So there's King Lothric. There's a message here. If only I had a dragon.
To melt the throne?
Yeah, I guess so. It's a good message. I think everyone should have a dragon.
Yeah.
I like that they all have different kind of chairs. Like Yorm's is this, you know.
I do.
That big squat one. The Watchers of the Abyss have like a chair. It's like, it's really more of a stand for their swords. Like they're like.
Yeah, that's a chair for their swords. It's
you know,
okay.
They weren't really there. And then we got King Lothric's big chair, dead center. What's over this way? I got some other shit going on over here. I also like that everyone's got their name written on their chairs.
That's nice.
Saint Aldrich of the Deep. Now that's interesting because we know about the Deep, you know.
We do.
Yeah, because like that's related to the dark, the abyss, and all that.
Saint Aldrich's chair looks like the furniture in like Italian ants' homes.
Right. He's got that like it's the chair with the slip cover that's like the drape cover that you tie in the back, and the ties are part of the aesthetic.
Yep.
Ludleth the Exiled. Wait a minute. What's that?
Hey, hi Ludleth. Who are you?
This little weirdo.
What a cool
O
little
thou
guy.
unkindled, and a seeker of lords. I am Ludleth of Corland. Look not in bewilderment as I say. I linked the fire long ago, becoming the Lord of Cinder. If substantiation be thy want, set thine eyes upon my charred corpse. This sad cadaver. No need to be coy. Have a closer look.
If substantiation be thy wish.
He just called us a doubting Thomas.
He sure did. And he's right. I was doubting it until I saw Ludleth.
Yeah, he's. I mean, does he not have legs?
I don't think he does.
Okay.
I think he only has arms.
Okay.
Which is why he kind of looks like the little Napoleon guy from Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, he does have of that. He's got a big crown. He's Ludleth of Corland. Cor, of course, meaning heart in French. So he's Ludleth of the Heartland.
He's from Flyover Country.
He's from Flyover Country. He sure is. Ludleth. I wonder if Ludleth actually has any kind of weird, interesting meaning, or where it comes, or its origination.
I could look that up.
You could look it up, but also.
I'll do it.
Oh, okay, we're gonna do that. While you do that, I'm gonna talk to him.
Knowest thou of our purpose? 5 thrones will take 5 lords as kindling for the linking of the fire. The fast fading flame must be licked to preserve this world. A reenactment of the first linking of the fire. So it is, I became a lord of Cinder. I may be but small, but I will die a colossus.
It is funny that you could. Oh, he describes himself as a pygmy too, just in case you were concerned they wouldn't touch on that piece of lore.
Oh, good.
I do think it's very funny that if you kill Ludleth, he has 250 health and he gives you no souls. It's like, which I think is very, very consistent. It's a bad idea because then you lose a lot of stuff that you can do. But I do like that. I like that you
can kill him.
Yeah.
So
this
this is interesting to me because he's like 5 lords for kindling for linking the fire. So all these guys, they've all been used up, right? Like they did it once. They all did it once. We need to kill them, just so we can have something to start the fire enough to burn ourselves.
Yeah, we're doing our best here.
We're really trying. We don't have a lot left. There's just not a lot burnable material left in the world.
This is when
Okay.
you're stuck with just the
prisoners both kept to link the fire.
It's sort of like when you add $5 to your tank and you're like, okay, I just gotta get home and then to work again. This is I have to.
I have to.
I know I'm running on fumes here, but
yeah.
He's voiced by Roger Ringrose. No, who's this man? What's he done?
Trevor, we're off topic here. We need to find out what Ludleth means.
Oh, he was in The Witcher. That's fun. Okay. Fextra Life doesn't have anything on the idea of Ludleth.
Well, then I don't care. That's all we care about here. What is Ludleth?
Yeah, no,
mean?
apparently... Well, I was going to say, apparently the only time that Ludleth shows up is in Dark Souls 3. I think it's a made-up name.
Oh, well then. He's Andre.
Well, a newcomer, I see. I am Andre. I serve at this shrine as a humble smith, forging weapons. You're in search of the Lords of Cinder, I trust. A toilsome journey, I'd wager. You'll require good arms. Let me smith you weapons. I am a smith, such is my purpose.
so funny that they brought Andre.
I know it feels so cheap, but also like
I don't want to.
sure, why not? You know,
I mean, I like Andre. I think he's fun.
I guess the thing is like he's such a a non-invasive lore return, right? Like, you know, okay, so Andre was in his little basement smithing weapons. You know, no one was going to interrupt him. He was just gonna keep doing that thing. He had a purpose, you know. He had a job, and he had a place to be. He was just gonna keep doing that.
Yeah.
Like,
I also think what's interesting about Andre is like it really is that, I mean, and this is well before this happened, but it's like that classic. I mean, it's a classic version of that contemporary problem of like, oh yeah, we had to add an audience break for applause when like Daredevil showed up in the most recent Marvel movie. It's like, be sure to add some time for everyone to like freak out. It's Andre. Oh my god. It's
right.
Like, that's not really
Exactly.
That's kinda cheap.
Now here we go. Here's our very fancy firekeeper. They're very fancy in this era.
Welcome to the bonfire,
I like the
unkindled
mask.
one.
Mm-hmm.
I am a firekeeper. I tend to the flame and tend to thee. The lords have left their thrones and must be delivered to them. To this end, I am at thy side.
Ah, finally, we can spend our souls.
So I like that the lords have left their thrones and must be delivered to them. So it's like, okay, we got to bring their asses back here so that we can link the fire and, you know, make a big old fire to keep the world going. But like, I like that, like, you know, Gwyn isn't among them.
No.
Like, anyone else like isn't among them. Like the chosen undead is not among them, it would seem. But like, why these five?
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like, it's weird. This is the problem of like, and you know, like there's certainly plausible explanations to it, maybe even like super interesting ones, but like, it's also the issue of saying like, okay, now this is the one that's going to have some continuity. And it's like, that's tough because like the previous 3 games kind of made their own, you know, they had like hints of continuity or there were echoes, and you can play with that a lot more easily than saying like, okay, it's the same world, it's just like way in the future. Andre's here, like, you know, we have all the stuff that was here before. But then you're asking like, well, where's Gwyn? Where am I? And that's tricky. Like, I'm not sure there's a good answer to that.
Yeah, and the thing, I think the thing that's unfortunate is ultimately we will get an answer of where's Gwyn, but it's not satisfying. When
we get an answer as to where's the chosen undead,
I actually I low key think we kind of get one.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, I think we low key kind of get an answer to that, but like we definitely get an answer to where's Gwyn. And it was one of those things that I remember being like, just kind of just like, fuck off about.
Yeah.
But like, because we get these 5 guys who link that we have these bosses that we're gonna have to fight that formerly linked the flame, and now they said no. Well, look, why them? Why did the bell wake them up? Why did not everyone else? Why did the bell like go and like find like 5 other dudes who linked the flame? Why is the bell now waking up the unkindled, the ones who failed in their job of linking the flame?
Right. Yeah. Like and like the idea of the bell sort of being another thing. To, you know, the bell. I'm trying to figure out a better way to say this because like it's not as if like I think the idea of like continuity is bad on its face. Like, I think there's a story to be told here, and I think there's a lot of stuff that's going right so far in Dark Souls 3. I'm trying to take it as just like a tabula rasa in a way for myself, but like, you know, like there's also this element of like, okay, so when we first we've talked to this to death in Dark Souls 2.
Then touch the darkness within me. Take nourishment from these softenless souls.
This is very much like the woman in Demon Souls, that idea of like touch the darkness within me. But like there's a quality to the bell in the first game where like you're told, okay, like just ring the 2 bells. That's what I heard. and it's arbitrary, and when you do it, like something happens you never expected, and it's very odd. And in this, like when you hear the bell, you're like, oh yeah, I know what bells are all about. Like I get that. I know what bells are. And that's like just a very different thing. Like that's like, okay, wait. That's a totally different vibe.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because it is a totally it's a totally different vibe.
Yeah, and I think like I've been saying that a lot, but it's really the best way to explain it. Like, it's not the same feeling. And like when you're going for something nostalgic in this case, like whether cruelly or attempting to sort of recapture something, and it doesn't feel the same, that's always going to make you feel a little off.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
I like how the Firekeeper keeps talking.
She's got a whole mantra.
She's praying for you.
Yeah, I don't like. She's got a whole little mantra that like I know Fextra Life I think transcribed at one point, or someone ended up transcribing it. But like, yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna put some general points. I just because I like whole numbers. So I put our stamina up to 100, and our HP up to 550, which is just feels nice and good and solid enough.
Very good.
I don't know what weapon we're using yet, so I don't feel like comfortable putting points into strength and dexterity.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Until we have something that we're interested in. So we're gonna spend level 10 now.
We're gonna spend 2/3 of 10,000 souls.
Yeah. I guess we'll keep
Ashen
talking.
One, to be unkindled is to be a vessel for souls. Sovereignless souls will become thy strength. I will show thee how. Ashen One, bring me souls plucked from their vessels. Ashen One, I will Ashen.
Okay, so that's all she's got.
Farewell, Ashen One.
Bye.
So that's our
Who's the guy sitting in the corner over there?
guy sitting in.
Not there, in the hallway.
Oh yeah. No, we were gonna go over here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, we walked by.
I just spotted him. I'm sorry.
We walked by her to begin with.
Pleasure to make thine acquaintance,
Oh, it's a woman. Sorry.
Ashen One. I am but a humble handmaid of the shrine. Weapons, armor, trinkets, and spells. I've lots of little things to ease the burden of a weary traveler. And yes, I'm undead too, but not so charitable as to give my goods away. Ashen One, fetch souls and bring them to me. As is thy wont? No?
Sort
Okay.
of like the witches, not quite like the witches.
Yeah, she has like she does have the witches sitting around the table kind of quality to her. She's a handmaiden of the shrine, which I guess
Her feet don't reach the floor.
Her feet don't reach the floor, but she's got kind of a I can't tell if it's different from the handmaidens eye wraps, but it's mirroring that. In a way that I don't know. Like we know the handmaidens are blind, but also traditionally handmaidens don't have tongues. I thought per Dark Souls 1.
I thought that was a thing, and that's not the case here.
That's not
Everyone
the case
has a
here,
tongue. Yeah.
which is I think is interesting. We do get religion that evolves over time. Is our current handmaiden actually blind, or is she just wearing kind of like a weird, pretty silver face piece
in order to indicate blindness, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So there's some interesting questions there that we'll have to keep an eye out for if there's anything that discusses that throughout the game.
Ooh, jelly beans.
She's got no. Those are they're the Cadbury eggs. Well, the Jordan almonds. No, there's
Jordan almonds are Cadbury eggs.
They're
Yeah,
the little Cadbury eggs. We just kind of loaded her down with all kinds of stuff. She's got embers for sale, and those are humanity or human effigies in this game. Repair powder,
Nice.
purple moss clumps, fire bombs, prism stones. She's got some
giving
spells.
Melentia right now to me.
She is like we had to combine a bunch of other characters into one. She has a thing called the Tower Key for 20,000 souls.
Seems like something we'll want to buy at some point.
Yeah. Dried fingers should only be used with the greatest of caution. A white soapstone, leave white co-op summon sign.
Yay.
So we're going to want to buy that.
Yeah.
Homeward Bone, Farron Dart, Fire Soul Dart. Heal Aid, that's a miracle. So we've got sorceries and miracles. Dagger, short sword, scimitar, leather shield, torch, sorcerer's staff, a halberd, some shields, some armor, some arrows. She's got, you know, kind of a general assortment of things. We do want the torch. Yeah. 'Cause it's the one thing we can just buy that we just need, and that's good to have. So we got that, and we got really what we need from her. There's a talisman if we wanted to have a talisman, but we already have like a chime. If we wanted,
helmet, we could get armor.
We could get a helmet, but like we need to buy all of it.
Yeah,
if we wanted to,
right.
if we wanted to chain leggings, leather gauntlets, chain helm, and I don't think Derby really cares right at this point. You know,
Ashen one.
That's reasonable.
Like Derby's just kind of dirty at the moment.
Yeah, Derby is like a mechanic right now.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, 'tis good to see ye in good health. What needs smithing this day?
And so here we go. We can reinforce things. We only have one Titanite shard, so we can't reinforce things. The Titanite shard economy in this definitely has suffered from inflation.
Oh no!
We need 2 Titanite shards just to get to +1.
Oh, this is terrible.
So that's 200% more Titanite shards, or 100% more Titanite shards than last time.
I can't believe this happened. Like Dark Souls is in the. This is terrible. Stagflation in Lothric. This is horrible.
We're a couple hundred souls short of putting fire into our club and making it a fire club. Let's see. Do I have...
That does sound fun.
That sounds a lot of fun. Let's see. Do we have... We've got a bunch of these, though, so let's munch those and see what happens. So 7 gives us 350, which is like just enough to put fire inside our club.
And if you can ever like imbue a wooden stick with fire, I think you have to do it.
We have a torch, and yet we're going to put fire in our club. So there we go.
Be careful.
This is what happened at the beginning of 2001 as well.
Yeah, we don't. Our stats are still, we're 10s across the board, because that's with deprived. Deprived is the challenge class of sorts. You know, it's you start with nothing. You get start at soul level 1. You have 10 in every stat, and this is what we went with. So now it's not optimized. You know, if you want to like make a strength character, there's better ways to go about that. If you want to make a dex character or an int or a strength faith character, whatever you want to do, deprived is not the way to go. But and like you quickly, like, you know, we don't have, obviously we still have our stick and our pants, our loincloth, but like, you know, like we got 15 vigor and 14 endurance already just from killing 2 bosses. And did we get a soul for killing Iudex? No, we didn't. Iudex didn't have a soul.
We got the twisted sword or something.
We did get the coiled sword. We should figure out what to do with that in a minute.
That makes sense.
We'll hold on to these for now, because I think we're good as far as spending souls goes. We got a torch.
I think it makes a ton of sense to just like. It makes a ton of sense to just like do to RP basically, to just be like, you know what, we're doing what we want to do with Derby. We're not gonna worry about.
It's back here. Some gravestones. Not a lot. There's not a whole lot back here. Andre is just kind of.
He's just chilling.
He's made some hammer. He's got some hammers. He's got some halberds and some axes and some swords, and he's just chilling, making stuff. Andre, I don't know that's how you make
something.
Yeah, like I don't know how that's how you make an S stock, but sure, you.
Hey, he's been doing this for how long at this point?
There's the craftsman's hammer, clearly.
Of course, yes, absolutely. He would need it.
Classic weapon
well.
from. I do like when we get like kind of like the way the light pierces down through here, and you can see the roots from up above.
Yeah, I like
breaking
when it uses
through.
the engine to sort of create these like Caravaggio style scenes, like
Mm-hmm.
where it's like basically the places where nothing's changing, where they're like, okay, here's what the scene is going to look like.
Yeah.
And I guess that's not fashionable in games to sort of create a static scene, but I do like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. No, I do too. I like how she's surrounded by these pots. You know, like these little weird urns. And then these little headstones. These little headstones that kind of line the walls and hold things up.
Ashen One, produce the coiled sword at the bonfire.
Well, all right.
The mark of ash will guide thee to the land of the lords. To Lothric, where the homes of the lords converge.
To Lothric, to the land of the
Farewell,
lords
I'd make a
converge. So here's where our bonfire would be, and we have to embed the coiled sword. And then, wow, that looks real familiar.
I've never seen that before.
You've never seen that before. No, neither have I.
Yeah, that's weird.
What is
It's like,
that?
Yeah, totally different.
Yeah. And so there we go. We have a bonfire. A bonfire.
I do like that. Like, I've always loved the kind of story where if you didn't, and like I've never been able to explain this right because people are always just like, that's every story. But I love the fact that like this is one of those stories where you could choose to just not put the sword in, and then the story never progresses. Like the kind of story where like there's a choice at the beginning that if you make the wrong one in a novel or whatever, like it doesn't have to be a video game. It could be like the character doesn't make it or whatever. Then like it's just an utterly like different game. I love those kind of problems. I think they're really fun.
Yeah, you could just keep playing. You could just never leave Firelink Shrine and just live an entire life just wandering around Firelink Shrine, never having produced the coiled sword.
Playing the most boring version of Animal Crossing of all time.
God. So now we have the option to travel. We have Firelink Shrine. It's bonfire level 1. We can travel. We can attune spells. We can organize our storage box. We can burn undead bone shard. We don't have any. Or we can leave. So we're going to leave for now. And I think that's enough for our first episode. What do you think? I think
that's probably fair. I mean, that really leaves us a good place to stop.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, to start at the next one.
I think
Like we
so.
have a lot to say.
Yeah, we still have a little bit more Firelink to look at, and then we have to see where we can travel with this. What does the travel say? The High Wall of Lothric.
Ooh, that's exciting.
So yeah.
I can't wait.
So next week we'll finish up Undead Shrine or the Firelink Shrine, and then we'll go off to the High Wall of Lothric and look at more of that.
Can't wait to see a high wall.
A high wall. Trevor.
There's going to be a lot of architecture talk.
There surely will be. Trevor, where can people find you? What have you been up to? Let them know.
People can find me. Podcast is No Cartridge, and my Twitter is Hagelbon, Hegelbon. I started my long threatened new premium series where I talk to people I find interesting. Dia will, if I can, I won't say if, when I cajole her to be on, we'll certainly be on one of these where I ask for 3 things that have informed their style, their career, their spiritual aesthetic.
Oh God, I forgot you sprung that on me during our Dark Souls 2 LP, and I thought of things and then immediately forgot them.
People panic when I ask, and like it's fun that way. But I finally was able to do the first one, which is always the hardest, with Scott Benson. It's almost a 4-hour episode on the Patreon right now. A sample will be released for the regular audience, but it's a lot in there, and it's fun. We have a good time. So that's patreon.com/nocartridge.
Incredible. Yeah, go check that out. Seriously, because Trevor puts out lots of great podcasts that I am frequently on.
That's true.
Yeah, like our Dark Souls 2 wrap up, which if you haven't listened to that before you started this, that's fine. You can go listen to that now if you want.
Yeah, you'll get a better sense of what's going to be going on here.
Yeah. But for me, you can find me here. You can find me basically everywhere at Dialacina. If you like the show or like any of the shows, just, tell a friend, retweet. It really helps us out. And, I do this because I want people to enjoy what we do. And so if you enjoy, let someone else know and maybe they'll enjoy it as well. Because it's all word of mouth, baby, in Elon Musk's Twitter world. But yeah, so you can find me at Dialacina everywhere. I'm mostly on Twitter and co-host still. But we'll be back next week with more of Derby's adventures in this, the best of all possible souls. Yeah. Let's wave. Let's wave. Say wave to the people. Bye. Oh, she bowed. She understood.